Hello fellow cinephiles, Film Guru here. Today I'm reviewing Mission Impossible Fallout. This was directed by Christopher McQuarrie and stars Tom Cruise, Rebecca Ferguson, Henry Cavill, Simon Pegg, Alec Baldwin and Jacqueline Bisset. And this is the story of Ethan Hunt and his IMF team have been missioned to retrieve some plutonium that has been stolen. And this plutonium will be used for 3 bombs created by a scientist to be detonated in 3 separate locations throughout the world. As usual, things don't go according to plan due to a life or death situation Ethan Hunt has to make. Due to this plutonium disappearing, the CIA become involved and force Ethan Hunt to take on one of their agents, played by Henry Cavill, to make sure that the plutonium is regathered and nothing goes wrong this time. So it becomes a race against time, trying to find this plutonium, and for Ethan having to do things that he normally wouldn't do, and having to make big decisions, life or death decisions on the spur of the moment, and not quite knowing which way to go and what to do, and trusting his gut and his intuition to choose the right path. Plutonium has been stolen by a group calling themselves the Apostles. They are a terrorist group and an arm of the syndicate, and their plan is just to create havoc. So what transpires is just a race against time, trying to find this plutonium and to stop these madmen from blowing up, using it to create bombs and blowing them particular areas up. This all leads to a quite action-packed, nerve-wracking ending. Not quite sure if they're going to be able to accomplish what they set out to do before it is too late. Look, this film is fantastic. It is, to me, the best in the series. It's epic, not only in length, being the longest of the Mission Impossible series, 2.5 hours, but also in grandeur. The set pieces that are put in place, the action sequences, everything that transpires in this film, the way it's written and directed. Christopher McQuarrie has outdone himself here and created what I think is his masterpiece. It has everything that you want in it: action, humour, a good story, a bit of heart, and there's a lot going on. And it has a relentless pace. It just goes and goes and goes, and only gives you a couple of minutes to really breathe in between each section and each sequence. There's some great sequences here. There's a great fight scene in a particular bathroom that is very well done. I won't give anything away. You'll have to go and see it to see what I mean, but it's so well done and shot and put together. And like a lot of the other action sequences in it, there isn't any words. There's no conversation between the characters as this is transpiring. It's just we're watching this unfold with not a lot of music either, in particularly in that sequence. And the action sequences in this are fantastic. There's so many chase sequences. There's car chases, motorbike chases, there's a chase on foot, and there's also the helicopter chase, which you would have seen from the trailer. This is just spectacular. Each action sequence gets better and better and outdoes the previous action sequence. It's just so fantastic. You immerse yourself in it, and breakneck speed. It's just relentless, but it's so wonderfully done, and you're just immersed in this, and you want Ethan Hunt to succeed. You want him and his team to succeed and stop these apostles from destroying everything. All the acting is really solid here. Tom Cruise does a really great job. Henry Cavill's really fantastic in the role that he does play in this film as well. Michelle Monaghan only has a small role, but it's good to see her back doing a sort of film and to be back within this storyline, which they haven't looked at her since Ghost Protocol. Rebecca Ferguson does another fantastic job here. I think she gave a really powerful performance in Rogue Nation, the previous film, number 5, and she does even better here with a lot of things going on, and she's really fantastic to watch. And is really Tom Cruise's equal and Ethan Hunt's equal playing this particular character she does play. Simon Pegg is fun and exciting as usual, and he has a lot to say and a lot to do in this film. And it's really fantastic to see him be able to use the things that he does, the skills that he does have, the dramatic parts he can play as well as the comical parts he can play. Alec Baldwin is solid here, and Jacqueline Bisset is really good as well. There's a lot of other characters littered throughout it and other actors that are involved in it who do a really great job and solid job as well. All the action sequences, like I said, were fantastic and beautifully shot and put together. And they even have the scene where Tom Cruise broke his foot, and they leave that shot in it, which I think deserved, especially what he went through. And the story is he came back 6 weeks after breaking his foot to continue on filming, which is extraordinary. They said it would be like 6 months for him to come back, but he decided to come back within the 6 week period, and then they began filming again. And you can't really tell when he hurt his ankle and when he didn't, because there is a lot of running, which I gather he did before he hurt himself, but maybe he did it after, I'm not 100% sure. He even reported having to get a helicopter license in order to do those sequences in the air, in the helicopters, which everybody thought he had, but he didn't, obviously. And I think there's a lot of heart to this film. There's moments where Tom Cruise gets to be dramatic and emotional in certain areas. What I really like too is he's having to make decisions that no one would really want to, and he doesn't really know what to do. He seems a character's a little lost, and he feels sorry for himself a little bit in parts, and he feels bad not being able to accomplish the things he sets out to do. And I think this gives him a bit more heart and a bit more depth than we have seen in the previous films. Like I said, I think it is the best in the series. It's the biggest in the series. It reminds me of a Bond film. It has so much of the sort of things that would be in a Bond film, but I think it's much bigger and better, I would say, than a lot of the Bond films. And it has a feeling of it could be the last one. And I'm feeling maybe it will be, because I just don't know how they would be able to top themselves after this particular film and what they were able to accomplish. And this is the first time Tom Cruise has taken a director within this series and made a second film with. All the other films were done by one director, De Palma, John Woo, J.J. Abrams, Brad Bird, and now Christopher McQuarrie, who's done 2 of them. And he's just upped the ante with this one. Christopher just blew the doors off the series with this film. It's epic. It's the first really successful film Tom Cruise has had in a little while. The last 2 films haven't done real well. American Made I did like, but it didn't do real well at the box office. And The Mummy, which was unfortunately a very terribly made film, which he suffered for a lot. But this film really puts him back on top again and shows the world the action star he truly is, and the actor he is, and his ability to keep pushing beyond things and keep being able to accomplish everything he sets out to do. Each of the action sequences are well thought out, well put together, and it is just massive scale that they've put together. There's a motorbike chase which is just astonishing through the streets, and as well as there's the car chase, and the helicopter sequence is just magnificent to watch and just nerve-wracking to go through. It's just a fantastically well made and put together sequences, and Tom Cruise, as usual, does most of his own stunts, and a lot of the other actors do their own stunts as well. It's quite powerful to watch them on screen. The 2 sequences I really like the most would have to be the helicopter chase scene as well as the motorbike chase scene, but also like the fight scene within the bathroom as well. It's just, the helicopter sequence is just amazing to watch, and just how they're able to accomplish it, and the stunts that he does in these particular things. People would have seen from the trailer him hang on a rope outside of the helicopter, and what he's able to do to get into that helicopter is absolutely astonishing. And there's a particular stunt where he falls, and it's just absolutely amazing to watch. This man, Tom Cruise, doesn't seem to have any fear. He just does these things and it doesn't worry him. And it's part of his process and part of him as an actor and a filmmaker is to participate in these particular action sequences. It really gets the audience involved because you're watching the actor do the stunt, not some stuntman that you don't know. It's actually this particular actor doing it. And I'm a bit biased, I guess. I'm a massive Tom Cruise fan. I think what he's able to accomplish as an actor and a stuntman is absolutely extraordinary. He's a person who continuously pushes himself to become better, and pushes himself physically and mentally, and I really respect that, and that really inspires me to see someone trying to do that. I may not agree with his religion choices, but that doesn't matter. As a person, as an actor, I really thoroughly enjoy it, and I've enjoyed all the Mission Impossibles except for number 2. And this is my favourite out of the series, even though I was a huge fan of Rogue Nation. I think this film really goes back to sort of the first one, and the decisions and the choices that Ethan Hunt has to make throughout the film. And there is a lot of elements to the first one in this, where things don't go the way you expect. There's a lot of twists and turns here. And you never quite know what's going to happen. You don't even really know if all the team are going to make it through this film. because of what they're up against and what's transpiring as this film goes along. It is quite an extraordinary movie to experience, and you really have to see it at the cinema. I just don't think you get as much out of it on a little screen. The cinema experience is really important for this film because of the grandeur, the epicness of the film, and how big the set pieces are and the action sequence within the film. There's a car chase that's really fantastically done, and Tom Cruise is obviously doing most of the driving himself, which is really interesting to see this particular car going around in particular areas. And we get to see more of Ethan Hunt, the caring side to Ethan Hunt we didn't see before. There's a depth to him that we weren't aware of, I don't think, in the previous films. Maybe a little bit in the first, and that's what I mean. It's sort of with the first one, and maybe the third with his wife and stuff like that, sort of gives it a bit more oomph. But it's sort of this, he doesn't know what to do and is a bit lost, and I think that really captures him. He feels a lot of regret for the things he's had to put people through and for people to be involved in. And he feels bad for a lot of this stuff. And he's haunted by these things that he's had to do and the choices he's had to make, and what that's cost him and cost the people around him and the cost the people that he loves. Christopher McQuarrie and Tom Cruise working together works really well. It started with Jack Reacher, the first Jack Reacher, and then went on to Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, and then on to this one. They've got a great working history together. They work really well together. Christopher seems to know how to get the best out of Tom Cruise and get the performances that he wants. And he's always willing to do these action sequences that obviously Tom Cruise is wanting to do, and always upping the ante with these things and try and make them bigger and better than the last ones they have done. Christopher McQuarrie, I think, is a really good writer, and I think he has written a very well written script, and there's a lot of twists and turns in it, and that's exciting, I think, for a viewer, especially with an action film, of not quite knowing where the film's going to go or where it's going to take you. The only small little criticism I would have is there are a few little cliched things within it, but then they twist them as well, so that makes it sort of different. But I really think that as a whole, this film is fantastic, wonderfully done, very entertaining. The action is fantastic. The sequences that evolve in it are brilliant. All the acting is solid, and it's just a well-made film that's very entertaining and fun. Look, final verdict. I think this film was fantastic. It is one of the best made films I've seen in a long time. One of the best action movies, I would say, I have seen as well. The set pieces make it an extraordinary action film to watch. If you like the Mission Impossible films, you'll absolutely love this and probably thoroughly get a lot out of it. If you're a fan of Tom Cruise, you may enjoy this. If you're not a fan of Tom Cruise, I still suggest to go and see it because it is a really fantastically made film and very well done. It may not be for everyone, but it is a very action-packed film and is doing very well with audiences throughout the world. Look, I'm going to give this film 5 out of 5. I just absolutely loved everything about this from start to finish. It is going on my top 10 films of the year and is very close to being number 1 because I just think that what it set out to do and accomplished was just absolutely amazing. I can't see this series doing any better than they have in this one. So I think this will be the last. Anyway, that's all from me today. If you've enjoyed what you've heard here, please hit subscribe down the bottom. Otherwise, until next time, enjoy the movies.